So let's talk about crypto. I haven't really done an all-encompassing video on my thoughts on crypto assets and cryptocurrencies. And, given Bitcoin breaking into price discovery, right now it's hovering around 90,000 and it looks, like it's steamrolling ahead. I thought it'd be a good time to make a video about this and just prepare people, because I'm assuming that at some point the smart people who own crypto will be taking profits. And when you do, how are you doing that? Are you going to fork over a whole bunch to the government? And are you going to file a bunch of stupid little forms? And are you going to try to go back 10 years and use some stupid ass crypto accounting software to factor in your, what wallet did this and then what dividends came in from some staking mechanism and how that happened? Are you going to do all that? Or are you going to do all your trading in a private ecclesiastical trust where you can do as many trades as you want and pay zero taxes, zero capital gains tax? So anyone who has crypto, if that's important to you at all, then this video is for you. Just to give a little, fundamental, I've been an investor, for years in the space, since about 2016, and I also wrote a white paper years ago that I didn't end up launching, but it definitely informed my view, on the world and kind of helped me even get to this point I am with trusts, because part of my search was for safety and this idea of sovereignty. And I did another video about that separately, but crypto was started by these libertarian anarcho-capitalists that just wanted freedom from government. And when their thought process was, okay, how does government control the world? Government controls the world through money, right? They finance wars, they finance, the military-industrial complex, pharmaceuticals, basically every devil-controlled industry that, controls the matrix. And it's all done through the government, and it's all done with money as well in some way, because even the government and the relationship between the government and the Federal Reserve operates as a quasi-government entity, basically, because again, it's all run by the hive mind of the devil. But technically, the Federal Reserve is a private entity, which is why it's so confusing to the public, because why do they call it federal if it's a private entity? But it is. You can look that shit up. So there's a long, track record and history of money behind that. But essentially, part of what the government did was they created the Federal Reserve in cahoots with all these other, cabal people who are whatever, all these people you've heard about, all the people controlling the strings. But I don't even think it matters each individual, because it's all the same to me. It's all again, it's like if you watch Westworld, like a hive mind. They're as soon as you push it, everyone knows, basically. So the Federal Reserve, the government, it's all the same thing, and they control this whole bullshit mechanism of printing and crashing the economy and then making it go up again. And then, we're in a summer season now, part of the narrative behind crypto and certain asset classes is that it's a safer store of money because it's mathematically protected. You can't make any more Bitcoin other than what's mathematically programmed. And also everything's public. So unlike the government, which operates in complete secrecy, part of the thing that is objectively really cool about a blockchain is that it's all public. Anyone can look it up at any time online instantly and see what's happening. And that way you can go back, and trace that history back in time. And so you can validate every single transaction on chain, and it's absolute proof. It's undeniable proof, from God. I mean, that's why the chain is there. So there are definitely certain niche use cases as far as this blockchain technology, but in general, crypto is highly speculative, especially as an asset class you want to hold. Bitcoin has done incredibly well, but, most of these other bullshit altcoins, there have been different seasons where most people have been washed away. I myself have had portions of my portfolio washed away with stupidity, where the core of the asset class, I think, has a good thesis behind it. But once you start to go outwards from Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, the base case really drops significantly, because all of these, they're all claiming all these different use cases. But really, at the end of the day, most of crypto is just another way for the devil to move money around. And yeah, we can use it too, like we can use dollars too. We know dollars are manipulated, and Bitcoin is not manipulated. Well, okay, it probably is manipulated in a lot of ways, but it's not like manipulated in a mathematical sense as far as the supply. That is what's appealing to a lot of people. It is, however, manipulated in the way that there are different choke points to get on-chain and off-chain via exchanges. There's large whales that, hold a lot of the supply that we can't speak to their motivation. At any time, they can change their motivation. So they can start dumping large amounts on the market and crash the price. And that has happened in the past, and it will happen again. So, it's an area where you can speculate. You can definitely make money. I've made money. But for people who don't understand what they're doing, you will get fucked and you will get washed away in the tide, which is coming soon. So for those of you who have Bitcoin and you have other crypto assets, and if you've been holding a while, you're probably up. I mean, Bitcoin is again, nearing price discovery, so you're almost definitely up if you held Bitcoin. And so now becomes the question of how do you, it's pretty protected in and of itself. Like, let's say the IRS, had some action against your person. Bitcoin would be one of the things that would probably be hardest for them to get if you had your private key secured correctly. Like, they could extort you and threaten you and they could jail you. But even if they did all that, if you have the private key in your head and you don't tell it to anyone, well, then you're the only one who has access to those funds. It's in your head. And that's the power of private public key cryptography, where it is not hackable. I mean, there's no way to do it. Anytime you hear about hacks, it's really people being phished, or it's like hacks of things that are on-ramps and on-ramps like to the blockchain, like tools that people are using, like ledgers and computers and things like that. The actual cryptography itself of the chain is 100% sound. So in that sense, you do have a natural protection. So if you're some libertarian and you're like, yeah, I wanted protection where I don't have to use a bank, great, you have crypto, that's fine. But what if you need to liquidate it somehow? I mean, certain maximalists will say you never need to liquidate it and you can pay for things in crypto, which is true. While that is true, it still leaves you open to operating in the government jurisdiction, because at this point the IRS, especially, we don't know what they're going to do under Trump. Obviously, he's saying these things where he's going to abolish the IRS and whatnot. But the IRS is already very vague on how they treat crypto. So anyone who has significant crypto capital gains, you're already probably scratching your head as to how to figure out like wallets from years ago and all the different like bullshit accounting things within that. So rather than even go down that route, the way to think about it is, if your person owns it, now your person is the slave, so they're going to pay taxes and all that. And that's why all these different jurisdictions around the world that, because crypto is a global asset, all of them are debating, like, how are we going to tax crypto? Because if you're a slave citizen in that jurisdiction, and then you voluntarily jurisdiction yourself there, then yeah, you will pay the taxes of whatever they say it is. But here's the key. How do you once you jurisdiction yourself out of that via private trust, which if you haven't done so, jump in the community and we talk more about how to do that. But once you're in a private trust, now you can donate all your crypto assets to the trust. So you just give it all to Jesus Christ, and now Christ has it. You're a trustee of that still, so you still control them. You can still make trades. You can still move money in and out of wallets wherever you want. But now you're doing so from wallets that are designated private, and you can do that via the minutes of the trust. But the main thing, though, is the entries in and out of crypto, because that is what the IRS, the eye of the RS, that's what they're watching like a hawk. So they're going to be watching all the major exchanges, including Coinbase. And if you think Coinbase won't sell you out, of course they will. So they're going to be watching all those accounts for volume. And then some of the larger volume accounts, they're going to start saying, okay, did you pay us your taxes? But here's the key. When you use any major in and out of crypto, any exchange point that's watched by the IRS and taxed, because anytime, right now, they say anytime it's bought and sold, it's a taxable event. So that gets tricky, because crypto, when it's traded for other crypto, and there's all kinds of swaps that occur, again, trying to figure out the taxes and all that, like, I never tried, because it was like insane. But the easiest way to do it is just, when you're trading all privately, you don't own any of it. You're trading it on behalf of a trust. And so when the trust makes that trade, let's say you have Bitcoin and you want to move to cash or any other crypto, it's not a taxable event when it's done inside a private ecclesiastical trust. And you can get one of these private trust accounts with pretty much every major exchange. We've had people, including myself. I've opened up accounts with Kraken and Coinbase, and many other people have used those top exchanges as well as others with these private trust accounts. And so you can start, you can have as many capital gains as you want accumulated from many years ago, and you can just donate it to the trust, and then the trust account on that exchange will actually execute the trade and sell the Bitcoin or whatever the asset is. And then that cash is now held by that trust account on that exchange. It can be moved to any other account from there. So you can move it to another private trust bank account that's not, a crypto account. And I would highly recommend not keeping a lot of money on any crypto exchange because they go down all the time. And certain exchanges have gone bust in the past, and then people have lost shit tons of money. So anything to do with crypto, really know what you're doing and don't have tremendous exposure unless you know the ins and outs and how to navigate. So if anyone wants to, talk more about how crypto is related to trust and how they can eliminate capital gains, you can jump in the community and learn more about how I did that. I've traded, millions of dollars in crypto at this point, all in private trust, 0 taxes. So you're speaking to someone that's actually done it, and there's many other people in there that have as well. So I look forward to seeing many of you in there, and for the rest of you, good luck figuring out that crypto accounting situation. Boy, that is going to be a fucking tough one. So have fun with that.